Welcome back to Clarity with Carole. I'm so incredibly glad that you've decided to hit play and spend some time with me today, because you and I need to have a very honest and very transparent conversation. I want to start our time together by asking you a question that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm asking it because I care deeply about your potential. So here it is. When you look at your life right now, are you genuinely growing, or are you just managing a comfortable routine? On paper, I already know who you are. You're incredibly successful. You have the impressive title. You have the deep professional background, the competitive salary, and the respect of your peers. But when people look at your LinkedIn profile or your resume, they see a high achiever who has checked all the right boxes. And I also know what it looks like to look entirely successful on the outside while feeling completely stagnant on the inside. I know that specific weight of sitting in your office, staring at a packed calendar full of back-to-back meetings and realizing that you just feel dull and stagnant. No excitement, no spark, maybe some sense of purpose, but just really getting through your day. I used to tell myself the exact same high achiever sort of lines, something that you might be repeating to yourself right now. I told myself, I'll look at my personal goals next month. Or I'll focus on my own career development when this quarter ends or right after that massive project launches. But you and I both know how this story ends. Next month turns into next quarter turns into next year, and suddenly you've spent another 12 months of your life funding someone else's vision while your own personal potential sits on the back burner. Let's be entirely real with one another today. If you're actively avoiding a clarity check because looking closely at the reality of your career feels too heavy, then it may be easier for you to keep your head down and then stay under the radar and keep collecting that paycheck. But today, we are stopping that cycle. I want you to talk about why we default to this pattern, because I had to unpack this in my own professional journey. When you have a reliable role and a corporate machine is working smoothly, it's incredibly easy to let that predictability blind you. And I want to validate something right here. The need for reliability is very real. There are plenty of professionals out there who intentionally choose to stay in their competence zone because they value the stability, the steady check, and the clear boundaries of a role. There's absolutely no shame in that. But a danger arises when you allow that reliability to trick you into falling asleep at the wheel and forgetting to evaluate your true worth and your happy zone of work. I had to learn this lesson through a major corporate pivot. I realized that the hard work alone isn't a strategy. I looked back and saw that while I was heads down executing, I needed to place a much higher focus on three critical pillars: building internal sponsorship, driving high impact outcomes, and proactively bringing visibility in my work. But even more than the mechanics of corporate navigation, that transition forced me to confront an internal truth. I had to admit to myself that I was not living as my true self in that corporate role. I was shrinking my native genius to fit inside of a standardized job description box. It made me realize that if you do not consistently audit your career track, you lose the ability to self-advocate for better seats. You end up waiting for an organization to determine your worth instead of walking into the room knowing exactly what your currency is. I look around the professional landscape today and I see so many brilliant people waiting. They are waiting for their company to notice their hard work, waiting for their manager to hand them an opportunity, or waiting for that title change to validate them. I'm here to tell you to stop waiting. Whether you are in a safe corporate seat right now or navigating an unexpected life shift, you must evaluate your trajectory often. You need to know your happy zone of work so that you can self-advocate for the project, the resources, and the seat that actually aligns with your potential. So let's run a career clarity check together right now to see where your baseline truly sits. The very first metric is a deep dive into your daily energy alignment. When I consult with unaligned high achievers, I notice a very dangerous pattern. People treat mental exhaustion like it's a badge of honor. We walk around corporate spaces talking about how tired we are, how packed our calendars are, and how we have 0 hours to breathe as if it proves our value. But I want you to stop and audit your last 5 working days. Think about last week when you looked at your list of tasks from Monday to Friday, were your peak mental hours spent doing most impactful work? Were you using your native strengths to solve complex strategy, drive true vision, or build assets that move the needle? Or did you spend 80% of your time fighting through low energy, draining administration? Think about the endless streams of low value emails, the duplicate spreadsheets, the meetings that you should have been on Slack messages or Teams, and the constant reactive firefighting. If you're spending your primary creative energy window playing defense against a tidal wave of administrative tasks, your career is deeply out of alignment. I want you to think about how you feel when you log off at the end of the day. There is a massive structural difference between being good tired and being soul weary. Good tired is how you feel after you've spent the afternoon building something you're proud of. It's the exhaustion of growth. Soul weary is the emptiness you feel when you've spent 8 hours running on a corporate hamster wheel, realizing that you didn't contribute a single piece of your true value to the world. True alignment is not about working less. It is about making sure that your energy spend matches your internal currency. Your day should feel sustainable and energized, not like a constant losing battle against mental fatigue. If your current seat requires you to stay exhausted just to keep up with the baseline requirements, it is time to admit that the seat doesn't fit you anymore. The second check on our list is confronting the psychological phenomenon that keeps mid-career professionals stuck for decades. I call it the competence trap. This is a very specific trap because it is built entirely on our strengths, or rather, what the corporate world thinks our strengths are. I want you to write this down or lock it into your mind right now. You can be exceptionally good at a task and still have it completely drain your spirit. High achievers struggle to accept this. Just because you can do something masterfully does not mean that you should be doing it for the rest of your career. Think about how corporate structures operate. They are designed for optimization and efficiency. If leadership realizes that you are brilliant at fixing chaotic crises, organizing messy logistics, or handling difficult client accounts, what do? They praise you. They give you an outstanding performance review, and then they hand you more chaotic projects just like it. You get caught in what I call the praise trap, getting applauded by leadership for a skill set you secretly look at with dread. I remember working with a brilliant operations professional a while back. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah was an absolute queen of spreadsheets and project logistics. Anytime a major corporate launch was falling apart, leadership threw Sarah into the room to fix it. And she did perfectly every single time. She got the promotions, she got the bonuses, and she got the public call outs in the all hands meetings. But when she sat across from me at a strategy session, she looked completely empty. She looked at me and said, Carole, I secretly despise the logistics work. It drains every ounce of my creativity. But I've built a profile where everyone expects me to be the fixer, and now I feel completely trapped by my own resume. Sarah was trapped by her own competence. Her market value was tied to a skill that was completely outside of her happy zone of work. If your resume says that you are an expert in an area that your heart has completely moved on from, you are building a future around the wrong metrics. Your genius is not what you can do. It is the sweet spot where your highest execution meets your deepest professional fulfillment. Stop letting corporate praise trick you into staying in a seat that treats your natural talents as cheap fuel for the baseline tasks. The final metric on our clarity check forces us to look at the mechanics of self-advocacy. I call this the strategic visibility audit. I want you to look back at the big outcomes you drove over the last 6 to 12 months. Who actually knows about them? Are those results safely tucked away in an archive folder on your desktop? Or have you intentionally driven visibility to the value you created? A massive blind spot for hardworking professionals is assuming that your execution speaks for itself. It doesn't. In the modern corporate world, visibility is just as important as volume. If you are not learning how to package your results, communicate your value to stakeholders, and intentionally secure internal sponsorship, you will always be bypassed for the best seats. Building sponsorship isn't about bragging or playing political games. It's about alignment. It is about making sure that the executive leaders who make decisions behind closed doors know exactly what your professional currency is, what your unique sweet spot is, and what outcomes you are uniquely qualified to deliver. Look down the road over the next 2 to 5 years, and if you stay on the radar, your genius becomes entirely localized. But when you choose to evaluate your worth often, you build the data that you need to self advocate. You learn how to enter, negotiate, or development conversations armed with metrics, outcomes, and clear strategic alignment. True career progression means you are laying the track for your next level of visibility while beautifully executing your current responsibilities. If you've just listened to those three metrics and you've looked at your daily energy, your happy zone of work, and your strategic visibility, and you felt a little knot in your stomach, I want you to take a deep breath. Don't run away from the discomfort. I want you to completely reframe that feeling right now. That friction that you are feeling is not a negative indicator. It is the exact spark you need for your next professional breakthrough. So stop coasting. Stop settling for a career track that uses your talent but ignores your true sweet spot. And most importantly, stop waiting for an internal corporate layout to dictate your ultimate worth in the market. It's time to establish your baseline score and build an actionable plan. So, to help you take an immediate action today, I want to invite you to step into the room with me. You can click on this link over the show notes and book a private one-on-one Clarity Kickstart session directly with me. In 30 minutes of highly focused strategic dialogue, you and I will look directly at your background. We will uncover the hidden strengths that you are currently ignoring, evaluate your true worth, and construct a very personalized blueprint. The links to my private booking calendar are awaiting you right now. Just click on the links below. You have sat on your true value long enough. Start evaluating, start self-advocating, and go grab your clarity. I'm Carole, and this is Clarity with Carole, and I will see you here next week.